Okay, we're going to start this hearing. We'll call it to order. This is a public hearing, August 8th, 2023 at 6 p.m. There'll be two sessions to this hearing. We'll go through that in a second. Let's start out with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lynn, you want to take roll call?
Commissioner Elwood.
Present.
Commissioner Keys.
Here.
Commissioner Coon.
Here.
Commissioner Graves.
Here.
Commissioner Mills.
Here.
Commissioner Pittman via Zoom.
Here.
And Lynn Dumas present. All present.
All right, I'll declare a quorum. Welcome to the public. The way we'll get into how the hearing will be conducted, but I'm going to read how the hearing will be conducted. Then we'll let Mr. Jeffrey will be going first. Joffrey. I want to pronounce it correctly.
Joffrey.
Yes. And then we'll open it up to the commissioners to ask questions and make comments, and then we'll open it up to the public. So, I guess I can read this one.
Okay.
Purpose of the public hearing: Arkansas statutes require that planning commissions hear public comments in a public hearing before rezoning permits or changes to zoning regulations can be approved. This public hearing is for those purposes: to hear comments regarding only the following zoning application and zoning regulation documents being considered by the City Planning Commission for approving and recommending to the City Council for adoption. And second, in session one, that'll be regarding a rezoning application RA 230627 filed by Michael Joffrey, requesting a change from R1 low density single family residential to R3 multifamily residential for the property on the southwest corner of Shields Drive and Woodsdale Drive, aka unit block lot 128-1-2. Session 2 will be regarding amending the planning and zoning regulations, section 7.05, commercial districts and industrial district uses for government services from conditional to permitted in commercial zoning districts C1 and C2. How the public hearing will be conducted. Public hearings must be conducted in a fair and orderly manner so as to allow citizens' opinion to be expressed directly to the Planning Commission that is making zoning policy decisions. Individuals wishing to speak shall approach the podium, state their full name and address, and make their comments. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make their comments. If multiple individuals have made similar comments on the same item, then the chairman may limit further similar repeating comments. Individuals who submit documents at the hearing shall identify each document. Each document submitted shall be made a part of the official record of the hearing. Documents submitted prior to the public hearing will be provided to the commissioners and be made part of the official record of the hearing. Reading documents into the record are subject to the 3-minute time limit. After all comments have been made, the chairman will close the hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, further public comment on the topic will not be entertained. If a planning commission meeting follows immediately after closing the public hearing to deliberate on the hearing comments and to consider further action on this topic, no public comments will be accepted on this topic during that meeting. Commissioners may discuss an item and ask questions of the presenters from the public hearing. Okay, we'll now open session 1 of the public hearing. Michael, you want to go up to the podium and give us a rundown of what you're asking?
I own a property up here at the corner.
Can you state your name and address?
My name is Mike Joffrey. My address is 35 Sailboat Drive.
Okay.
I own this property up here on the corner, and I looked into it because I was going to sell it, and to sell it, I wanted to have it in R3 so somebody could build multi-places right here on this end. I have both properties, 1 and 2. 2 we're going to leave in R1 for now, I guess, because it's not important because you really can't build on here. So I applied to do the change the zoning, but then I found a warranty of deed in 2012 which states that the property to be zoned as residential only, either 1, 2, or 3, will be at the discretion of the developer or landowner. Until this decision is made, it would be on R1. So if I would have had that before I would have tried to rezone it, I don't think we would have had to go through this rezoning because I have the right to make a decision on that property. So when I bought it from the developer, and he told me that I could build townhouse or whatever I want because he was going to build townhouses there. So he zoned it like that, 1, 2, or 3, just in case somebody bought it and they wanted a 1, they wouldn't have to pay the extra fees. So he told me flat out that he was going to build condominiums there. So whatever I wanted to do there, I'd be able to do it. He made the units 128, just 1 and 2. There's no other properties in those units except for those 2. So I own both of them, so I make the decision that I can vote if I want it zoned or not. Nobody can vote against me because nobody else is in that thing. So I guess that's pretty much what I'm going to say. I went through the rezoning thing because I think it's good for everybody to know that how to do the rezoning, because I don't think it's ever been done here before. But with this document, I think it pretty much tells me that it's at discretion of myself if it's going to be a 1, 2, or 3. Second paragraph says that the covenants will be determined at the time of construction, but that means if somebody started building it and they started building 1 house, it'd be an R1. If they started building 3 or 4 houses, it'd be an R3. So I could either make that decision, or when it starts building, they could make that decision. That's the way I read this. And anyway, I guess that's what I have to say. So if there's any question, I'll take any question.
Well, we're gonna let the commissioners make comments or ask questions first. Then we'll open it up to the public. And we, let me kind of caution everybody right now. We don't want people just raising their hand and speaking from their chair. We need to take turns. We need to go to the podium, state your name for the record, and then make your comment or ask your questions. So, does any commissioner wish to ask a question or make a point?
I think that's appropriate for the meeting. This is for the opportunity for people to speak their point of view and their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll reserve mine for the meeting when we consider it.
Okay. I guess I will make one comment. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not sure that what you said about you having the say-so and you don't need the approval from the city to rezone. I don't know that that's true, because that was a couple of deeds transfers ago when that took place. The latest deed transfers, I don't believe, made that same stipulation. And,
Well, I called down there, and there's no covenants on that. This is the covenants for the property. And it says it pretty much says on it, if you read It says here the following, let's see, describe property, oh, never mind. Guarantee or its successors or assignees. So I think I'm either a successor or assignee to the property. So I would think a lawyer would go in my favor on this. That's just the way I feel. And if that's what I'd have to do, that's what I would do. But
aren't there 3 properties in Unit 128?
No, there's only 2.
There are 3. There's Lot 1, Parcel A, and Parcel 2. Or excuse me, Lot 2.
Yeah, I own both.
You own Parcel A and Lot 2.
I would own Parcel A, Lot 1 and 2.
No.
Lot 1 is the
house that's there?
the one
I
that
don't know about that. I think it says in my warranty deed I own both. Let me look at my.
The lot ones where that house is already?
I think so.
I think I own 1 and 2. I'll go over it here in a second. I have to get to it.
By
Craig Royce.
Craig and Kathy Royce own Lot 1.
In Unit 128.
Is that who
For the
lives
real
at that?
estate
Is that who
records.
lives at that corner?
It's
Is
that
that your
house
name?
just beyond the strip.
No, I know which house you're talking about, but I don't know if that's them or they had. Huh?
Are you saying you own that lot and house?
No, I own the first lot and the second lot.
Yeah.
Well,
And
first
I
lot
think
is
it says
parcel
1
A.
and 2 on my paperwork. I mean, on my, here it is, just a second. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I would have to look more into that. I didn't look into that part of it. It said I own 1 and 2.
Actually, I think you own parcel A and lot 2.
Lot.
Okay, well, maybe so.
That's right.
Still, if we had a vote on it, I'd have 2 votes. So it doesn't matter.
Okay. We'll open it up now for anybody from the public. Michael, you can go ahead and have a seat. You might want to sit close by.
I can walk.
Anybody have any comments?
Do I have to get up there?
Mhm.
Is that mic on?
Mike on.
Thank you.
Tom Axman, 4 Horseshoe Drive on the island. Mr. Joffrey, I would just ask you, what kind of buildings are you going to put in there?
I'm going to sell it. I'm only getting an R3 for somebody that comes in to buy it. So devalues my property if it's an R1, but it states clearly that I have the discretion to do it. Tom Dees was going to put a couple buildings up there. When he was alive, that was his plan. He had plans drawn up for it and everything. And when he sold it to me, he told me that I have it so you can build whatever you want on that property, or I wouldn't have bought that property.
I don't know that anybody can give you carte blanche such as that, but the thing I've got too, whatever's to be built on that property, wouldn't it have to be approved by the Corps of Engineers?
Well,
Because,
not,
I mean, when I'm looking at that property, you're going to have a cantilever over the lake to have any kind of.
oh, no.
property.
I can build, I measured, I took measurements on it the other day. I have to be 30 feet from the street, and I still have enough room to build buildings at 100 feet by 35 to 40 feet, and still have room in the back to put drive past it and all that. I went up there and measured the whole thing.
Well, I've never measured it, but it looks like at 100 feet, you're going to be in the lake.
No, I don't build it that way. I'm going to build it the other way.
Okay.
As a point of record, that lot is a little over 8/10 of an acre, which is well exceeds the square footage that would be required to build an R3 building of some sort. So, you know, I don't know how fast it slopes off or anything, but there's ample acreage there to do it. Anyone else?
Can we just see where it is on the map? I can't
It's the green area right there.
Is that one lot or three?
That's one lot.
This is
yeah.
one
That's
lot here,
parcel A, yeah.
and this is the parcel A. And what he wants to rezone is this lot on the end. Shields Drive wrap around the bridge off of Woodsdale.
Okay, and that gentleman owns the lots next to it, correct?
No,
The person we talked about owns this lot down here in 128.
But,
I own two
but
lots, right?
Michael owns that parcel right
He
there.
owns this parcel and this lot number 2.
Yeah. Dan, since we kind of asked you to be here, this is a question more for whoever eventually wants to build on that lot. But we know there's a water line easement on the property, but there's no sewer to that property. How much of a problem is that for somebody someday to want to be able to run a sewer line to that property?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, we can't do it. We'll have to, contract out to come in here and do it. Barrows or, because that's just solid rock, so we're not gonna be able to do it.
But you have to go, the nearest line is on the other side of Bandy, right? Or-
Yep.
The sewer line runs along the timeshare, crosses Bandy, ends up on this side of the road, goes to that pump station, and then they pump it in a pipe across the bridge. That's the sewer line. The water line comes this side of Shields, crosses the road and runs through this property, along the property. So that 30-foot easement for the water is right in through here.
And
So
there,
the closest point is off of this property across the road for sewer.
there's sewer lines in between the condo units. Are those HICPC sewer lines or are those Table Rock Landing sewer lines?
Well, I'm assuming there are, because they got manholes on them, so we get manholes.
So okay.
But still, I don't think that, you have to check the grade and everything, and see if it works, but it's just gonna be just as tough there to try to cross there and bring it down, so either direction you go, and I'm not sure we're gonna, it's gonna be a private line. I don't see why the district would run like an 8-inch line, because we're not gonna gain any more customers, so. It would be all the responsibility of whoever bought that lot.
If it were single family versus multi-family, would that make a difference on the size of the sewer line that they'd run?
No. It just depends on what kind of, multifamily, if they're gonna be stacked on top of each other, or side by side, or.
Dan, if this lot wasn't up high and it wasn't rock, and I wanted to build my house on there, isn't it my responsibility to pay for the line from my property line to your sewer? Is that the way it works, or do you folks, does the HICPC pay for that line connection?
When the connection's let's say it's on the road, or, let's say it's a water line, actually, the sewer line,
Okay,
we just run it to the property line.
okay.
That's it.
But you're
in this
gonna have
case-
to put it, you're gonna have to run it across the road over
But
there.
we're not gonna do it,
Well, someone
because
is.
somebody's gonna have to do it. 'Cause
But
that's-
who will pay for that? That's the question.
Right now, I can't speak for the board, but, if you ran a 4-inch line, that's the homeowner's responsibility all the way from the main all the way up there. I would assume, because like I said, it doesn't benefit us at all to run a so-called main and have it for that one single family or multifamily or whatever it is. There's no benefit.
No, but, that would be an issue for whoever eventually comes to the city for a building permit. That's when that issue would have to be dealt with. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't think in terms of that being solid rock, that obviously adds a level of complexity. I don't
This-
know if they could bore under the road or if they'd have to,
Not with rock. You can't judge where it's gonna come out at. I mean,
yeah.
it's gonna cost more to bore it.
So it's your opinion that this space across the road is built on solid rock right in this area?
Well, you
Because
can
the
see
property
the,
line
you can
is
see
right
the
here.
ledge right there. You can
Right.
see the ledge as you go around, so.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying it's solid rock, but, it's gonna be,
But typically, it's HICPC's responsibility to bring it from the line to the property line, period, right?
not at,
No.
no.
No?
Not like that, because it costs, we only run it like 10 foot or something. You're taking from the property line to the main, which is only, typically, they're only about, I don't know, 5 foot.
So what are all these cuts in all these roads? I thought that was crossing the road to get to the sewer on the other side.
No, that's all water leaks.
Okay, all the cuts that are crossing the road this direction are water leaks?
Service lines.
Water line.
Okay, in Holly Island, is it the sewer on one side of the road and the water's on the other?
Yep.
So if I build my house on a lot opposite the sewer line, who crosses the road?
It's a chicken.
Typically, all the lots already have sewer available for those lots.
Okay, okay.
This one was a parcel,
Okay.
never intended to be built on. This is back,
Whether it's
10,
an
12 years
R1,
ago.
I'm not sure,
It'll be an issue.
I'm not sure that it's material to our hearing tonight. It was something that I was curious about, but it's going to be an issue whether it's a R1 or an R3. And, it's probably an issue that should have been handled by the developer when he plotted that parcel into 2 lots in a parcel. That problem should have been dealt with at that time. Now, the eventual property owner is going to have to try to deal with it. Okay, anybody else have any comments?
Hi, Carol Kellerman, 11 Ironwood Drive. I'd like to get back to the sewer issue again, if we could bring that little map up. If you have to bore underneath that road to bring that sewer to the property line, who's responsible if between the property line and where it meets the junction where it connects to the sewer, who's responsible for that if it breaks? So, and is that going to impede the road? Is it going to impede traffic to the road? And I just can't imagine that a multi-family unit doesn't take any more sewage than a single family. To me, it doesn't make sense that it wouldn't. And then also, I would like the city to consider the traffic issue and the parking issue. It's a narrow strip of land. It's on a very steep cliff that goes into the lake. The planning for the developer, that would be a huge consideration. Everybody that drives that road, that goes to the barn, that goes to the swimming pool, that goes to pickleball, goes home. Where there's traffic issues, there could be traffic issues there. If that sewer line would pop, is that going to put everybody out? I live on the island. We have ice storms. If something happens to that sewer and it ruins that road, am I stuck in my house and can't get to Sunfest until that gets repaired? Can we rely on that homeowner to have the money to do that kind of repair? I understand that it's not pertinent to this meeting, but I do understand that that was a parcel that was not intended to be built on.
Can I answer that question?
Oh, I wanted to ask you a question too.
Sure.
What's the document that you were referring to?
It's the covenant for the warranty deed for the
The
property.
warranty deed. The covenants for the warranty deed.
Right, the warranty deed is a deed. It's filed at the courthouse. That's what you get when you buy a piece of property. And I want to I want to
I
say.
just wondered what you were referring to. You
Oh,
said
no, no,
this
that's
piece of
fine.
paper, and I didn't know what this piece of paper was.
No, I understand. It's the warranty deed.
Thank
It's
you.
the actual deed for the property. Anyway, I have one thing to say. There's no way they would have made this deed 1, 2, or 3 if they didn't think they could build it. And there's townhouses and there's timeshares all the way down the street. And they all go to the same sewer. So if you got that problem, I guess you should worry, and we should shut down all the townhouses and all the timeshares on that street because we have the same problem.
Well, I understand that, and there are multiple units surrounding that piece of property. Adding more multiple units on that small piece of property,
Well,
how
the
much
mo-
is that going to stress it?
Well,
Because
the
we
most-
already deal with all of that.
The most you can build on that property, because I measured it, would be 3 buildings. I mean, that's the most you can build. You
Now-
can't build any further because there's not enough room.
Right, so when you're talking buildings, are you talking
I'm not building.
up or,
I'm not the
Vertical or
one,
horizontal?
actually, I'm not the one building, I'm the one selling the property.
Some of these questions would be addressed at the building permit stage. You know, any application for a building permit is going to have to meet our zoning ordinance for minimum acreage, minimum parking spaces, access to the road, obviously. There's going to have to be something worked out about the sewer line. But the sewer line issue, I don't really see being any different, whether it's a R1 or an R3. If you're going to build on that lot, you're going to have a sewer line. It's going to be a challenge for whoever eventually tries to build on that lot. Any other comments? Al, you had something?
Al Selleck, 22 Buckskin Lane. I just had a couple of questions. You say there's water easement, but is there water lines there now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a manhole, if you drive past that lot, there's a manhole, looks like it's possibly sewer line,
Yeah.
but that's actually, there's a PRV there.
And you're trying to sell it. You don't want to build on it.
Well, I was going to build on it, but I ended up buying a house on Sailboat Drive, and I had plans to build 3 or 4 houses on that property at one time.
Okay, but if you build 3 houses or 3 buildings, would it have to then later come to the number of parking spots maybe to limit? Are they, 1-story buildings or 2-story buildings? That'd be
Well, that's going to be up to the zoning board, but there's plenty of room at the far end of that property to build the building, and I still got 20 feet on the back side, and I could build a building 35 by 3 buildings, 100 feet, like the timeshares across the street. Those buildings are less than 100 feet long. So I could build 3 of those buildings, and I would have 35 to 40 feet to put a house in there, and I'd still have enough room in the back to drive, or I could move them back and I could have front parking in front of them. There is room to do it. I measured it all. I went over there and took the measurements myself.
And it was mentioned that there are possibly other deeds beyond the deed that you have. Because you've talked about the developer, and he told you he was going to do this,
Well,
he was going to do that. But I think over the years, you hear stories of other situations where the developer said, this spot is going to be this, and then somebody came up with more money, and all of a sudden it wasn't. There are places where you drive along and you see a house that was there, and supposedly the land across was going to stay separate. Now the land is sold to somebody else.
Well,
And
here's
I would just encourage that the deeds be researched possibly more before decisions are made about changing or assigning the zoning. Thank you.
Any other comments?
There's only 2 deeds recorded on the property. And it was in 2012, and then mine. And the covenants were all on the first one.
Thought Tom sold it to somebody and then
Tom,
they sold it to the
Tom worked a deal
HICPC.
out with his brother-in-law, and they sort of owned it together, and he ended up getting it back because that's why the way they wrote it in the beginning, and he sold it to me. So it all was in the same, basically the developer had it the whole time. So there's only 2 deeds recorded, mine and that one. But there was no covenants at all on mine, all the covenants were on the other one.
Don House, 68 Shillsburg. Just a quick question, refresh my memory. If it's infeasible to lay a sewer line across the road, we don't allow septic tanks, correct?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be an issue. Second, what's the economic impact between going from an R1 to an R3 to the SID?
I don't know.
Couple of $100 a year,
A
probably.
couple $100 a year. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can I take another minute?
Sure.
Again, Tom Axman, 4 Horseshoe Drive. First of all, I think it's appalling to me that we're even here discussing this. That is the most, as far as I'm concerned, the most premier property at Holiday Island, if not the most, one of the most for sure. And it's unfortunate Tom Dees is no longer with us, but that should have been a piece of Holiday Island, proper ownership, as opposed to individual ownership or whatever. And I, for one, am totally against it. Thank you.
I'll sell it.
What's your price?
Yeah.
Let the city make me an offer, I'll sell it.
Ken Brown, 7 Cypress Point, and I'm on the Board of Commissioners. I think part of the problem here is what Al brought up, and that is some of the agreements that were made by Tom early, and he was trying to do the right thing, I'm sure, trying to develop, trying to get people in here to live, and many of us have enjoyed the work that he did along with the early boards of commissioners. My concern is that we have more apartments or condos or affordable places for people to live. I think there's a big plot of land that maybe the city council had dealt with or about to deal with up by Peachtree, which is either for sale or has sold, where there might be some multi-family units there. You know, there's some discussion about whether this property has enough room, width or length for multi-apartment buildings. But you hear in the paper every day, people can't afford to live in Eureka, they can't afford to live here, they're making $15 an hour, where are they going to live? So if we had more apartments or multi-story buildings, I don't know if they'd be on that lot, but I think we need more of those, not $300,000 or $400,000 homes, because they're not affordable to those people. The other thing is, it seems to me that because of the way this was agreed upon by the developer who's no longer with us and the new buyer, that it might be a legal situation to approach a real estate attorney or your attorney or the city council to try and work it out. But anyway, I know it's a big job, but as Linda said, the only difference in R3 and R1 is about $200 on the assessment every year that you pay for my house versus that lot.
Okay, any other comments?
I'm Angelique Geiger, 26 Deer Run Drive. I just have a question, since this was conducted originally back in 2012. Since that initial deed, has there been a resurvey by anybody, by just lost the word, the Army Corps of Engineers? Has there been a survey with respect to that portion of the lake? Because I know that they have easements and so forth that we're talking about blasting and possibly affecting the integrity of that area to put in water lines or to do something. Has it been resurveyed for that kind of use for sewer or water?
Yeah. not an expert on that, but I don't think that they would, we don't allow blasting in Holiday Island, so they'd have to use hydraulic or something to, if they did have to trench across there.
Okay, well, I just thought that the word blasting was mentioned about that. They would have to do some blasting to lay the lines. But if
Yeah.
that's the case, yeah. But I was just wondering if there was an up-to-date survey for that, for use.
I don't know of any.
Yeah, but that might be germane if they come back in and go.
Well, he's not gonna, I mean, the core line, the backside of the property is the core line probably.
Yes.
It goes down,
Yeah.
down about 20 or 30 feet down.
Yeah.
The back of the property is the core line, take line. It's on the,
It's marked.
Well, that's kind of what I was curious about
Yeah.
that. Okay, thank you.
But I don't think in this particular case, you can encroach on core property without getting really, really wet.
Dan, I've got a quick question if I may. How long has it been since we did not allow blasting here?
I think it's in our zoning ordinance, or
it was in the, I think it was in the original, planning commission regulations.
yeah.
That's where we got it from, I think.
How long ago would that have been?
I don't know how far back those documents date.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is the lot across the street from us, they did a lot of blasting to get that house in there.
Hmm.
And I was surprised that, number one, that it was allowed, so.
What, is blasting the same as jackhammering?
No, that's dynamite.
Lots of dynamite.
No, yes, blasting is the same as jackhammer.
So you can.
I don't know that they do very much blasting with explosives anymore. They use hydraulics now, I think, more than anything.
I have one more question, if you don't mind, Mr. Godfrey.
Yes.
You're wanting to go from an R1 to an R3, is that correct?
Well, yeah, it's an R1 because it's an R1 until I make the decision, so yes, that's what I want to do.
Right. My question, I guess, I'm thinking you're trying to, you may sell this.
I have it up for sale.
All likely you're going to sell this. If you find a buyer that wants to be R1, what are we going to do?
It doesn't matter, he can still build a single, he doesn't have to build multi-thing, he can build a single one there. I mean, the R3 just gives him the right to do it. I might sell it to somebody who just wants to build a single dwelling house. I don't know who's gonna buy the property.
I understand. So an R3 gives you a little more flexibility.
Well, it makes the property, it values my property. So that's why I'm doing it now, so he doesn't have to go through it.
Okay.
So that's really the reason.
Okay.
And somebody might buy it, just want to build one house on there. I mean, I don't know.
And they'd be allowed to with.
Yeah, they can do it, yeah, on R3 you can build whatever you want, pretty much.
Okay. Thank you.
He just pays more in fees,
Sure.
$200 more.
Any other comments?
Can I just take one more second?
Sure.
Carol Callahan, 11 Ironwood Drive. What's the downside if we leave the zoning as it is today? What's the downside and for whom? And what's the advantage of changing it, the zoning, and to whom? The owner or the person who buys the property can then build multi-units as opposed to a single unit. Okay. And I agree with this gentleman there. In Urban Planning 101, there needs to be some open space in any community. And that is a beautiful open space for that corner. And I am opposed to any building there. Thank you.
All I got to say, if somebody wants it open, they can buy the property and it can be open forever.
You can donate it to Holiday Island.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I guess
I'd like to correct the record. It's been said multiple times that this is a parcel and all it should be a parcel. And the record of the bringing that to a parcel for a lot in September 29, 2009, HICPC accepted that as a lot. So it is a lot, it's not a parcel, and it was done in 2009.
what it was, yeah.
HICPC accepted as a lot in 2009 on this on this document.
Even though, the strip is still called parcel.
Yeah, the piece in the middle is still a parcel. It's parcel A, but that's lot 2 and lot 1 is over here.
Okay, any other comments? I'm gonna close this session then. Do I need to wrap the gavel to close the session? And now we will go into the second session of the public hearing, which is regarding amending the planning and zoning regulations, section 7.05, commercial districts and industrial district uses for government services from conditional to permitted in commercial zoning districts C1 and C2. I'll give you the background on this. This is the city requesting approval from the city to do something. You know, most people know that we are going to be leasing space up in the park for the city offices. That the one room that we've had down here for the last couple of years, we're outgrowing that, and we were given a real good deal from the landlord up there in the park. So we leased that space for city offices. And then the secretary of our planning commission pointed out to us that it's zoned C1, I believe, C1. And if you looked at how at our zoning ordinance table for permitted uses for a C1, government services was not listed as a permitted use. So all we're looking for is to change the zoning table to show where it's a conditional use to an approved use. So it really doesn't change anything. It just puts us in conformance with our own building code, our own zoning ordinance. So I'll open it for discussion. Anybody interested in this? Can't believe nobody's interested in that.
Go for it.
Yeah.
All right.
I was going to make a comment that during that discussion and that discovery, it was also pointed out that the sheriff's office lease space is there in the same zone. So for the same reason, it needs to be a government service that's permitted.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to close session 2, and the public hearing is adjourned.
Thank you very much.
We're going to have a public meeting.
Yeah, now we're still going to have a meeting, yeah.
For making a decision.
Was this?
This is the public meeting, and this is, you've got two of the same things.
Yeah, well, these were both as on the website as documents for the meeting, and it looked like the same thing, except this one had the resolutions. So this is just extra.
Okay. There's, no, what, you've got, flip the page up. I was curious what you got. The agenda for tonight. And these are, this is the resolution that we'll consider during our meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, there's a place in our, we have public, we have,
Now, I can't make comments on the
Right.
public hearing thing.
Correct. No, you're not leaving.
Are we in recess?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have public comment section, yes. What? What's the question?
Yes, I got it twice for some reason. Okay. Nobody wants to take a 5-minute break? Nobody wants to take a break? Then we're gonna call the regular meeting of the Holiday Island City Planning Commission to order. This is our regular meeting for the 8th of August, 2023. It's approximately 6:45. We'll dispense with I think we should dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance because we've already done that. So with that change, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to approve the agenda. I can't even talk.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Linda seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call.
Councilmember Elwood,
Here.
Councilmember Kuhn,
Here.
Councilmember Graves,
Here.
Councilmember Mills,
Here.
Councilmember Pittman via Zoom. Mr.
Jared?
Pittman?
He's here.
Okay. Councilmember Dumas here. All present.
Did you call me?
As a city council member, I don't call you, do I?
No.
Mayor Keys.
Here.
Okay.
All right, and for the record, I got the agenda out of order here. I approved the agenda before I took roll, but I'll declare a quorum. We have minutes from the hearing on July 11th and from our regular meeting on July 11th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from July 11th. I'll second.
Ken made a motion, Pat seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The opposed, none. Minutes are approved. We have no reports at this meeting. No old business, so we'll move on to new business, deliberation on the public hearing comments regarding the rezoning application RA 230627 filed by Michael Joffrey requesting a change to R1 a change from R1 low density single family residential to R3 multifamily residential for the property on the southwest corner of Shields Drive and Woodsdale Drive, aka Unit Block Lot 128-1-2. I'll open it for comments.
I have a serious problem voting on this with his claim that he's got a deed that says he already has the right. Is that, I don't know whether that's legal or, and if we go, have we done any research to see if that deed is restrictions or the covenant for that?
Or whether they cover our control of zoning, being a city.
I think the short answer is no. We have not checked with our city attorney as to whether or not that deed from maybe what, 2000?
From March 6, 2012, from Holiday Island.
When Tom presented that plat to the HICPC board, was there anything that said in that said what kind of zoning, how it was zoned?
I don't know, but I know who the
Yeah, don't bring it up.
I know who signed it.
Well, I'm a little confused as to what, to phrase this correctly, if we were to vote yes, it would kind of be a moot point.
Correct.
If we vote no, and I
We have a
think
lawsuit.
then no, we don't have a lawsuit, we have a legal issue to ask counsel about, so I don't know that it makes a lot of difference,
Well, third option would be to table
To
it
table
until
it,
we get an
yeah.
answer.
which may be the more prudent thing to do, to be honest with you. I don't know the answer, do you? I don't feel comfortable voting on it, not knowing whether we have the legal right to it.
Well, do you want to make can you make a motion that we table it?
I make a motion, we table this until we get a legal opinion on it.
Well, but before we, can I interject there? Let's get all of our comments out first, and then we'll move to take some action. Yeah, I'm just expressing my opinion on this. I have the same concern that Mr. House was brought up in the hearing, and that's that we zoned it R1 because that's what the county zoned it, and even if you go back to those original documents, it said it would be R1 until somebody decided to change it. And now we're asking for it to be changed to R3 because there's a possibility that it would attract more buyers or command a higher price if it was R3. However, if we went ahead and changed it to R3, and then the buyer comes along, the real buyer comes along and says, no, I want to build a house there, I don't want to build multifamily. Now we have to have another public hearing to change it back to R1.
No, we don't do it.
Yeah, we do.
You can't build a house on an R3?
No,
I think
because R3 is zoned
Well,
for multifamily.
I thought you could do the lesser.
Now,
Let me find it.
he said, his deed says he can do R1, R2, R3.
Oh, yeah, but we don't know.
The either or thing doesn't work, because if this were a large tract of land and it could be either or, then you'd have apartment building, house, condo, apartment building, house. There wouldn't be any order to it at all. Kind of like we have in Unit 10 here right now, where
Single family unit.
we have houses and businesses
R3 not permitted.
intermingled.
Not permitted,
Right.
single family house not permitted in R3.
So,
But
His deed
But
doesn't say-
townhomes and condominiums, triplex, quadplex are permitted in R3.
But his deed says he can decide what
His deed does not say that. The deed from HDIC to Craig says he can. When Craig sold it back to HDIC, or in the second one, there was an attachment said the previous one applies. And then when Joffrey bought it from HDIC, there's no text in the warranty deed about zoning.
But that
So it's
kind of
agreements between
suggests-
different parties.
Yeah, it kind of suggests we need legal counsel.
My research in filing documents with the county, when you talk about deed restrictions, it has to be a special kind of document. It has to be notarized, it has to be signed by two parties, and it has to have certain language in it. So if you read the covenants that are associated with most properties, that's what is attached to our properties. And they start with statements and include statements like they go with the land, whatever that phrase is. Those kinds of things. There's content that has to be present, that property transfers inherit those characteristics from the past. The warranty deed doesn't have that kind of language.
is there a covenant for that?
No, there are no covenants that I could discover. I asked Mr. Joffrey, he said he didn't have one, and I asked the property owner on lot 1, and they are not aware of one either. So to our knowledge, there is no covenant.
Where was the notation that he was citing?
It was on the deed.
What?
The notation.
It was on the
He was citing a deed from
Successors
2012.
and assigns and.
That I couldn't find. I don't know where he was reading that.
What's that? Here it is. Can I bring it up?
Yeah, bring it up.
Yeah, we can ask you questions as a presenter.
question would be, is there no warranty deed from 12/15/20?
Right, there's the successor and the signs.
Right here it says it.
Oh.
And it says and/or landowner.
Mr. Joffrey, was there
Developer
no
or
deed done
landowner.
in 2020?
He sold it to me, so I would be the landowner, huh?
My question is, was there no deed done on 12/15/2020 when you?
When I purchased it,
Yeah,
there was no covenants on the,
no covenants, but was there
Well,
a deed?
Yes, there is.
yeah, I have a deed, but there's no covenants on it, so the covenants would be the covenants was probably because when he sold it to me, that he said that the property was set up for that, so I figured it's the same covenants it's in there because it pretty much,
I understand what you're coming on, the spring part of the, and there is for the following property. But it also says the covenants will be determined at the time of construction.
That's the 2012, that's the 2012 transaction between HCIC and Gray.
But that's what he's saying, it
Right.
says either on one.
Right, that's where he's reading it to.
But it's not a covenant.
No, it's not a covenant. It's a deed restriction or a deed condition. With,
So it's no guarantee it goes to the land.
in my reading of the statute,
I
it
think
says,
you need a legal opinion.
Have a legal opinion on that.
Let me ask you another question real quick. And then we can table this, do some more research or get an opinion. We have to have another public hearing to consider.
no, we've had this, the public hearing we just had is enough. And notifying the public that we're having another meeting about it is all we have to do. We don't have to have another public hearing. So we don't have to go through the paper notification process.
Then the commission here would approve or reject the resolution on this change to the city council. Okay, well, I guess this is an important consideration, so. Are there any other comments?
Mr. Joffrey, did you ask an attorney for the
I will.
property attorney?
if I do, I'm gonna ask him to charge you all for my bill too. But I will do it.
I'm not asking you to do it, I asked you if you.
I haven't yet, no, because I thought this would be resolved today, so I didn't do it, or I would, because if I do it, I have to pay more money. So,
I think we want to ask our attorney.
Yeah, don't go to your Google or.
We'll ask our attorney. You can pay him.
we'll see.
Well, I think that would be a more prudent way to go.
Okay, any other comments? Then I'll entertain a motion to take.
When Tom Dees, this is my comment, when Tom Dees told me when I bought the property that I could build townhouses up there or whatever, I think that, to me, that's a contract between him and I have a witness that he told me that, so I also, I have a witness on that. Matter of fact, the realtor himself, he talked to him about it also, so anyway, I'm just bringing that up.
Okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion now to table this until we get the legal opinion.
I started to make a motion to table this item until we get a legal opinion.
Okay, made a motion, how long do you think that'll be?
Pat seconded it. Any further discussion? All in favor? Or do we have to roll call vote this?
I don't think so, because we're not taking any.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll table it. We'll get with our attorney tomorrow, so It shouldn't take them long to give us an
Okay, because
opinion.
I just want to know, because if I get somebody, I don't want to tell them that I don't know.
Yeah,
So moving forward in our process, when we get the opinion, we'll call another meeting. The minimum amount of notice for the public is 2 hours, but we'll do a better job than that.
okay. Yeah, I hate for you to be the guinea pig, but at this point in our evolution as a city, almost anything we do is precedent setting. So we need to do it right, because we have to do it the same for everybody going forward. So we'll get back with you just as soon as we can. Okay, the next thing on the agenda, consider resolution HICPC R23-006, a resolution of approving or denying rezoning UBL, no, that's the wrong thing. I'm reading the wrong thing. Deliberation of public hearing comments regarding amending the planning and zoning regulations, section 7.05, commercial districts and industrial district uses for governmental services from conditional to permitted in commercial zoning, C1 and C2. Do I have, you should all have a copy of the resolution that Lynn drafted.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Make a motion to approve resolution HICPC R23.007.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Lynn, you want to read the resolution?
Resolution HICPC R23-7, a resolution permitting government services in commercial zones C1 and C2 in section 705 of the planning and zoning regulations for the city of Holiday Island, Arkansas. Whereas the HICPC and the City Council have noted that the planning and zoning regulations regarding government services in commercial districts C1 and C2 are currently zoned as conditional uses, and whereas the Holiday Island City Planning Commission, HICPC, has determined it necessary to revise the planning and zoning regulations section 705 of the commercial district C1 and C2 of Holiday Island to provide districts of compatible uses for unified development for the elimination of nonconformance and other matters of general welfare for the city. And whereas the HICPC having now developed amendments to the planning and zoning regulations to adopt and recommend, has provided the required notification pursuant to ACA 1456-422 by letter to the Eureka Springs School District on July 18 and pursuant to ACA 1456-422 by publishing a public hearing notice in the Carroll County News July 18 edition. Whereas pursuant to ACA 1456-422 that HICPC has conducted a public hearing on the matter of adopting and recommending amendments to the planning and zoning regulations on August 8 to hear public comments. And whereas the HICPC now finds it to the best interest of the citizens of Holiday Island to recommend to the City Council amendments to the planning and zoning regulations section 705 commercial district uses table to provide for the clarification of terms, uses, and procedures in planning and zoning for Holiday Island. Now be it resolved by the Holiday Island City Planning Commission, section 1, that government service shall be a permitted use in commercial districts C1 and C2 in the planning and zoning regulations 705 commercial districts and industrial districts uses table. Section 2, pursuant to ACA 1456-422, the HICPC adopts amendments to the planning and zoning regulations 705 commercial districts and industrial district uses table for the city of Holiday Island as illustrated. What's illustrated is commercial services are permitted in C1 and C2. Presently, they are conditional. Section 3, pursuant to ACA 1456-422, the HICPC certifies that this amendments to the planning and zoning regulations should be adopted by the City Council of Holiday Island in a timely manner. Passed and approved this date.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Commissioner Elwood?
Aye.
Councilmember Kuhn?
Aye.
Councilmember Graves?
Aye.
Councilmember Mills?
Aye.
Councilmember Pittman? He's
Jerry?
raising his hand. Councilmember Dumas, aye. Mayor Keys?
Aye.
All in favor?
All right, the resolution passes. Okay. Public comments? Review changes to rezoning application form.
Oh.
Process flowchart. I skipped
Yeah.
something on the agenda.
Yeah, that was the last item on the second page. I'll pull that up real quick. Gotta find the right table here. Work documents, that's today here. Flow charts. Okay. These, when I was doing the work, working with Mr. Joffrey on this process, I discovered that we had errors in our map, our process flow map, and the errors occurred. By the way, this doesn't change the text, it's just reading the text more clearly and following this process. There's a problem with when the city council approves or changes it, it goes down here to a city attorney before we have the city council meeting. And in the proposed changes in that flow, we have a meeting to deny it or approve it, and then it can go down through this process, or it comes around the corner for a denial and goes through to the city attorney as well. If the special council approves it on a tentative approval, it goes to a meeting before it can go to before it goes to being approved or disapproved and denied. So I just fixed the flow of the process in this map.
Okay.
This is what it used to look like in this bottom half, and it looks like this now. So it's got a few more boxes in it, and I uncrossed the line so it's easier to follow.
Okay.
So just documented the process. I think it's more accurate.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that the planning commission saw that and said it looks okay, so that I can update our application form.
All right. All right, we have a place on the agenda for public comments, but they would have to be comments other than what we've already covered in the hearings. Anybody have any public comments?
Let's get the roads fixed so it's not so rough out
Not the city, that's not the city.
Commissioner comments? Hearing none. Scheduling? We'll almost certainly end up with a special meeting to deal with the
Legal counsel.
yeah. But we'll schedule that when we have the answers.
Right. As far as a regular meeting for September, we won't be meeting at 3 o'clock. I accepted an application late yesterday, and then the process that we're going to have a public hearing on September 12th at 6 p.m. And it's another rezoning application, plus conditional use for the same property. September 12th, 6 p.m.
6?
Yes. We'll have a regular meeting after that.
Is Jerry going to be here? We need Jerry for a quorum.
Jerry, are you gonna, he dropped off. No, he's still there. Jerry, you gonna be here? Maybe you can put it in the chat.
You can't be on Zoom and be officially
If
here.
you are,
Be on Zoom and also.
Jerry, are you gonna be here on September the 12th?
I think he can.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that
Physically.
physically on Zoom.
Yeah, are you gonna be here on September the 12th?
For a 6 p.m. meeting,
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think I had it on mute. I have to use your recording.
I hope my recording works.
Okay, and we don't have any workshops scheduled. So, hearing any other business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Barb made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Aye.
Lynn seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.